knights, behold my secret agent. Now, if you guys remember my series where I kind of talked about my fun character tier list, most of the characters that you guys have seen so far are very high on that list. You guys see my top 5 characters, for instance, I put pretty highly on this list. My monk is here, obviously. My rogue, which is another character I value very highly. A lot of fun characters. Of all the characters, however, that I didn't put very highly on that list, I did end up gearing my secret agent. And honestly, guys, I've been having a lot of fun with my secret agent, and so we're going to be doing this crash video on him. Now, I want to bring attention to the three characters in particular: my female striker, my rogue, and now my secret agent. It turns out that these characters, I highlight them because they are very, very abusive at one particular thing, and that is crossroads of choice set. The basically talisman selection shoes allows you to basically take your talisman skills and abuse them to the max. You guys can see the set effect right here. First skill talisman slot, the cooldown is -30 and the attack is 55%. So it is super abusable. And even the second skill gets 25% cooldown reduction and 45 attack. So basically these two skills right here get massively buffed up, and striker, rogue, and as well as the secret agent can abuse that heavily. And I'm going to try to showcase a build. It's not the only build you can do on this character, but those three characters can really, really benefit off of having a ton of cooldown reduction. So that's what I kind of wanted to do on this character, and I'm happy I was able to do it. What I'm going to talk about with the pros and cons here. They're nerfing this character, so I wanted to try to get this fun build out before they nerfed him, but I'll just have you guys know that is going to be something coming down the pipe. But I do want to show this guy off a little bit, guys. But before I do, let's talk a little bit about his pros and cons. Alrighty, guys, the secret agent is what I would consider the most aggressive character in DFO, and for 3 reasons. He has the most iframe in the game, he has a ton of skills that can put him on top of a boss and follow a boss no matter where they go, and on top of that, he can build really low cooldown, which kind of goes into my next point, guys. He is a talisman god. He benefits a ton from the talisman selection shoes, which give him even more cooldown on these highly abusive skills that give him a ton of damage and complements this abusive playstyle. And speaking on playstyle, guys, I just think it's really unique that this character, out of everyone in the game, can basically bypass entire attacks and gimmicks while he keeps his offense going. Now, all that being said, guys, while we haven't gotten it yet, we do know that a nerf to Shadow Step is coming, which is going to nerf how much iframe as well as the cooldown that you can stack on this skill, which is going to definitely affect those pros that I brought up earlier. The next thing about this character I don't really like that much is how simple his approach is. There is some fun to be had by iframing through everything, but it also can get old really quick. The nerf to Shadow Step might actually bring some different gameplay to this character, which might be something that you're looking forward to. Lastly, guys, this guy is super gear dependent. Now, obviously everyone in the game is, but this guy more so, because if you really want to build a fun set with him, you're going to need very particular gear instead of any old gear off the block. Doing this is very hard and very resource intensive, which a lot of characters don't need to focus on. Alrighty, guys, so I want to showcase a couple of things about this character, and the first thing you got to know is that's very specific to this character. You want to do this generally every time you go into the training room, but what's very important is that you want to change the monster grade to boss monster. And the reason why that's important, guys, is because when you do that, you actually will see that one of the monsters, basically the name monster, the boss monster, will have a target put on them, which is really important for this skill right here. One of the primary skills of the character is assassination target, which basically changes a lot of his skills that basically prioritize the enemy that is the target, which generally there'll only be one named monster in the map. And things like your annihilation will do more damage against that. If you have like the talisman for the Moonlight Requiem, for instance, it will jump to this target right here. Same thing with the Shadow Step, it focuses on the target. Aim shot focuses on the target. Things like the target detection, everything focuses on this targets, which kind of lends to the idea that this guy is an assassination beast. Okay, that's kind of his whole gimmick, is that he's an assassin who focuses on the target, which is kind of cool that he has a lot of skills that are focused around that. So make sure you do that. Also, something about the targets that I should mention, say there are 2 targets, for instance, like there are 2 sandbags here, 2 bosses basically. You can also press the target skill and change targets like that. So you guys can see new target, which is important obviously if there are 2 main enemies and I want to hit the other one. Well, boom, now I'm going to hit this guy. Then I switch to this guy, boom, now I'm going to hit this guy. So it's kind of important. It's not a big deal. This is pretty rare in this game where there are 2 targets, but I can see like when there are 2 enemies or 2 bosses or something, you need to change targets. That's how you do it. So make sure you know the shortcut for how to change targets, because it will get annoying if you keep hitting the wrong guy and you don't mean to. So let's go through his passives though, guys. First things foremost, you know, I want to always bring attention to characters who have physical crit chance. This guy does have 18%, and I'm at 100%, and you'll notice that I don't have any, not even, no end chance to give me crit, no emblems that give me crit, even these ones that probably should have crit don't have crit on them. This guy does not have any problem getting maximum crit, which means you can stack, you know, more stats. You know, most characters don't have this luxury, so I want to bring that up every time, because this guy, it's really easy to stack maximum crit, which kind of makes sense, just given his, you know, aesthetic as an assassination guy. So guys, we got to talk about the Shadow Step right now, because the Shadow Step is key and pivotal to how this character plays. It's not really showcasing it very well here, but this is the whole reason why you make this character, as well as why I made this character's build the way I did. Okay, cooldown reduction, huge deal. Then I have Break of Dawn, I have Time War Remnants, I even have Assassin for my Roko pieces. And you really want to reduce the cooldown of this skill. I'm going to use the cooldown reduction Mind Stim Potion, because it is so abusive, man. You can really just abuse it. Now, obviously, you can use it 3 times in succession, but really how this character is supposed to be played, guys, you're supposed to weave in your skills with your other skills when you use the Shadow Step. You can use the Shadow Step, use a skill, use the Shadow Step, use a skill, use the Shadow Step, use a skill. And you want to try to do that as fast as possible, and you want to have a cast of that as fast as, or, you know, every single time you use a skill, because you can really reduce the aftercast delay of your skills when you do that. I'm going to try to showcase here, like, that's how fast I can regain control of my character, but when you cancel it here, it's almost like you didn't even, there is no delay, you know, like, it really does increase your deeps when you have the Shadow Step available to cancel. Now, you don't always need to use the Shadow Step. For instance, like if I use Annihilator, you'll see what skills I have available. Like I could use Romantic Dash, for instance, to cancel out of it as well, but mainly you want to be using the Shadow Step since it does damage, and it's really useful. The one tip I want to give about Shadow Step, I mean, aside from weaving your skills together, I obviously want to do that, but say you just want to use the Shadow Step 3 times in a row. Here's me spamming it. Instead of just spamming Shadow Step 3 times in a row, though, what I usually do is I mash the A and the D skill, my target shooting, that's this skill right here, which shoots a bullet. I usually mash them at the same time, because you'll notice that it casts actually a lot faster. You guys can see right here, it's actually able to get through and actually do a little bit of a target shooting. So at least there, I'm still canceling the Shadow Step with my own target shooting to get even a little bit of damage, you know. So you always want to cancel. Anytime you can, cancel a skill. Use the Shadow Step and cancel a skill. You don't want to just use Shadow Step and then use it again. You want to try to cancel it into something, because it increases the deeps every time you do that. So just want to bring attention to that. Now, obviously, this character is going to be getting nerfed because of the changes that they're going to make to Shadow Step. You know, they're going to basically remove the iframe. They're also going to remove this kind of active ability right here. You guys can see I have up to 3 casts of Shadow Step, but the cooldown reduction, or the cooldown goes down after the first cast. So it allows you to stack up 2 stacks of it and then build your cooldown back up even after you haven't used it all yet. They're nerfing that ability, which basically means you have to utilize all of your stacks as soon as possible, which I did really seriously dislike how they're doing that, but that's the change you're getting. But even yet, cooldown reduction is still going to be really important on the character, because you're going to need to cancel your skills regardless of what they decide to do on that. But anyway, guys, the last thing I want to talk about is the Romantic Dash. You know, what you're going to notice when I fight these bosses, he has a ton of iframe. Whenever you knock down Hammer King, he does a quick knockdown, and what you can do with Romantic Dash is jump into it, and it gives you iframe. So any attack that, you know, like this knockdown, which would normally knock you down, if he doesn't miss, but if he knocks you down, you know, that's really annoying that you got to get up. Well, I'm basically iframing it through it with the Romantic Dash, and that way I can stay on the ground, and that way I can stay on top of an enemy and make sure that, you know, I can just keep going. Is he stuck? What happened? Anyway, yeah, use Romantic Dash to iframe through attacks. You can also cast it manually. If you press the jump skill during the dash, you can actually just activate it yourself. And you can see how low the cooldown is, guys. This has become super abusive as another iframe move. So you have Shadow Step, you have Moonlight Requiem, you have, you know, Romantic Dash, and now you also have, after the Third Awakening, Moonlight Stalker. It doesn't really look like iframe, but it does teleport off the map, so you can use that to basically iframe through attacks yet again. This, what you're going to notice, this character's really focused on iframes, which is kind of how the character plays, which is kind of how you're going to see makes him super aggressive. But enough talk, guys. Let's go ahead and do some harder content, so I can showcase a little bit of how this character is to play, because as you'll see, he is a really interesting gameplay that most characters in the game can't even hope to have. Alrighty, so hopefully I was able to showcase a little bit of how the character plays. I think it's just going to be better to showcase in ones. I'm going to start off today with ones, and I'm going to showcase some content I haven't been able to before. Mostly because most of my guys weren't strong enough, but as I've been playing, I haven't really stopped playing. Even though the videos and the streams have kind of died down, I have not stopped optimizing my characters, guys. So definitely, even characters that are this low on my character select screen are doing a lot of damage. I want to showcase a little bit of Sirocco Challenge, so we're going to show that off as well. Now, kind of what I talked about with this character is that he focuses heavily on his shadow step. You know, that you can see the stacks of it. I still have 2 stacks of it, even though I still had the skill on basically building up cooldown. So it's kind of cool. Here you can see it's on cooldown right now, and I still have 2 stacks of it. Basically now I have 5 casts of it. I can cast it 5 times in a row without stopping, which is super abusive. They're basically going to be nerfing that effect of it, where you can't just cast it one time and build up stacks of it while it's, you know, building back its cooldown. So that is kind of a shame, but you know what? It makes sense. It is a little bit more fair. They want to avoid stuff like that, where even in the middle of the boss's attack, you can kind of utilize the shadow step to get iframe regardless and keep your chain of iframe together. And so that's kind of what they're trying to avoid with the nerf that's coming up. I'm just want to warn you guys, this is not going to be how he's going to be playing here in a little bit when they remove the additional iframe that you get off of the shadow step. You can't just chain these skills willy-nilly. You're not going to have an easy way to get into range of an attack and just, you know, chain another skill that gives you iframe. Like for instance, you can just chain this straight into Moonlight Requiem, and there's no point in that little sequence that I did there that the boss was ever going to have a chance of hitting me. So it's kind of the shame there. Actually, I want to go down here when I do this run, because you get a free chance at the mini boss here, or it's not a chance, it's guaranteed. The mini boss is always there for this dungeon. In fact, outskirts of Rochester, you know, people were making a big fuss about Ghent Palace getting nerfed and all that for gold farming. If your character's strong enough, this dungeon right here that I'm doing right now, the outskirts of Rochester, actually is the best in slot, or I shouldn't say best in slot, but wanted to showcase the off-axis 1A. This dungeon actually is the best place to farm for gold. And the reason being is that it's a solved dungeon. For those who don't know, this dungeon layout could be 3 different types depending on which mini boss spawns, I think in the 3rd or 4th room. And then you know the location of the optional mini boss, which you basically know which direction to farm it or direction to go, and then you can obviously farm yourself some time guide stone or time crystals as well as aeolite really easily from doing that. So anyway, haven't been able to talk much about this character. This character honestly is just too strong for most of the stuff that I'm going to show here. So when we get to the later content, when I'm doing Sirocco Challenge, you'll see a little bit more of what I'm talking about with the benefits. But the thing I wanted to bring attention to is that this guy's AoE capacity, although I don't think it's very high, I do think it's good enough for at least this many rooms. You know, you're going to start running out of skills, but with low cooldown, you know, you can see kind of here just chaining skills together here, and then if it starts getting hairy, you just use Romantic Dash. And dude, how many epics am I going to get? Holy cow. You know, I should not be skimping out on these ones. I've been being lazy lately. Well, shoot, I just got 3 epics already. That's what I'm talking about. No cursed, unfortunately, but yeah, guys. In this normal content, he has enough AoE, and especially if you have Target Detection Talisman, which is what my 3rd one is, you can see you just have good enough AoE to take out trash mobs, you know, and you're going to have those skills available. And for any time you fight like a mini boss, all you need is the 1 skill. And of course, I didn't use it there, but all you need is the 1 skill. You just need to have the shadow step, and you're good to go. Generally, don't want to use a shadow step for just trash mobs like this, unless there's like 1 left over like that, which is perfect skill to use it. Do love the idea of this dual Black Crescent being a decent grouping skill for lining up other skills for yourself. So chain these skills again, and forgot to pick my thing back up, but it's okay. And that's kind of how this character is supposed to be played, guys. That little sequence I did right there, you press a skill, you press shadow step, you press a skill, you press shadow step, press another skill. Basically do that with 3 different skills, and that's how we're going to be doing most of our damage against the final boss. I'm going to go ahead and go into challenge mode. I haven't ran it on any other characters. Might run it on my rogue now that I think about it, but and we're going to see a little bit of how this character generally plays in most of the content that you're going to be doing with him. Because honestly, if I'm being honest, guys, playing this character in normal content, he's decently good enough. I was able to show that obviously off at ones. But I think most of the fun you have with this character is just unloading on bosses who are also fighting back. Because you can just ignore that. You can just ignore that. It's very unique. It's a unique playstyle where you have this cooldown that just is so abusive. And no attack that the boss does right now, it's really going to sway me from even this. Like, what are you going to do? It doesn't matter that he's doing that. I don't care that he's... Oh, shit. Okay. Didn't time that correctly, but... You know, I don't care that I have this thing under me. Like, who cares? That's how this character plays. He's really... I wouldn't say brain dead. Okay, it is brain dead. But it's aggressive, I think, is the way to put it. There's no other character in the game at all. Not my striker, you know, and I've talked about this on my striker, on even Vagabond, I think to some extent has really low and abusive cooldowns. Nothing is on this guy's level. Nothing. Look at this. Yeah. It is such an abusive and honestly kind of fun build. I don't have any other characters that I play. I usually play all of these characters that have really low range. You know, I'm talking Monk, I'm talking, you know, look at how abusive that is. And then you iframe with that, and then you just don't care, dude. So even that was, I don't know if it's considered iframe. It's like you disappear from the map a little bit. So you literally aren't on the screen. So you can use that to iframe too. Especially, it's useful for whenever there is no enemy to actually hit with the shadow step. So, and you can't hit with the grab either, obviously. So look at how awesome that is, man. Cast a little bit of this, cast with this 1A, change it to this. Now I got a whole bunch of other casts of it. Cast this, a little bit of that, get out of there. Dude, honestly, guys, there's nobody else who can do this in the game. I just think it's a lot of fun. And I'm kind of sad that they're nerfing that ability of it. You got to think a little bit harder. Maybe just use your other iframes. But he's still going to be really abusive. So I don't want to, you know, if you're finding this playstyle like really cool and attractive, then... Oh, wait. Yeah, even that will focus on the right guy. Oh man, I didn't iframe it at the right time, but luckily, you know, Time War doesn't care. Unfortunately, wasn't able to kill, but you know, I could have stopped time and made this actually kill. But yeah, even moves like that where, you know, you don't have a target to hit, you can still iframe through that with Romantic Dash with, you know, the new skill that you got. So, oh god, I gotta pick these up or I'm gonna die. Okay. I have one chance. I don't have enough. Uh-oh. You know what? Maybe I just want to let it go. Nah, okay, never mind. Almost screwed that up, but yeah, make sure to use your slow time and stuff still, guys. I'm just trying to showcase some iframe stuff, so I don't want to just try to burst them down. But yeah, hopefully I'm able to showcase even a little bit of all the gimmicks you can just ignore. Or you kind of have to know the boss's like timings a little bit better than most other characters. Usually when a boss is doing an attack, you just kind of like don't care if it, you know, if you see them doing an attack, you're not going to try to challenge it, you know. But this character, he's all about challenging those attacks, you know. You don't have to sit there and wait and waste your cooldown times on some of your skills because, you know, you have a way to get in there and still attack safely. So like I said, some people can consider this completely cheap and breaking the game. I like to consider it as a unique character of like 60-something characters in this game that actually has to, you know, that actually has the ability to play a little bit differently, you know. You would think that oh shit, you would think that this iframe should not allow me to die ever, but obviously still could be a problem if you're not chaining your skills correctly, like I am. So I would have died twice if I didn't have my Time War moment. So. Okay, I didn't think I was. You for sure have to get knocked down. I would not have enough iframes to avoid that whole thing, quick rebound gimmick. But you can force it. Like I said right there, you can kind of force these bosses, which is kind of an interesting thing about these types of characters. Well, obviously this one is probably one of the best in the game to do it, but I'm kind of talking about characters who can afford to ignore gimmicks, you know, or iframe through certain stuff, like my striker, like, you know, like these other, like Rogue, like I talked about. Those guys who have iframe, they eventually end up doing more damage than stronger characters. Like for instance, my EK, if she were to do this, obviously she would do more damage. She's like literally twice as strong as this guy, but she can also miss out on a lot of damage just by sheer virtue of her not being able to attack as often, you know. This is kind of the benefit of people who have, like this character, who can just attack through anything. He doesn't have to wait for gimmicks, you know. And so even though they are weaker by a large margin in this case, you can still end up doing more damage because you can just use your skills more often. You don't have to wait around. I'm even standing right underneath this thing right here. That's full iframe. That thing should usually catch you. Oh shit. Didn't mean to jump out of there. And just chaining those iframes. And honestly, guys, I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss being brain dead about it. But not to say you can't still do exactly what I'm doing. You're just not gonna be able to build that cooldown up as much. So you're basically gonna have more downtime in between your first and last cast of your Shadow Step. It also makes it so that, you know, you can't just hold on to one. Like for instance, I have this one. I'm just gonna save it for when he actually does something that's dangerous, and then, you know, I'm still building up the stacks of my next one. So it's kind of the benefit I really like about this, because it makes it so you don't have to use the chain. You can just use it when it's convenient to use it, instead of just being forced to use all three at the same time. So, and just kind of making short work of this and using my target detection to take care of the small trash room. So, and of course I like the 1A just because it gives that cooldown reduction and gives me a little burst here, so I can just kind of go ham on him. So, and you know, when she does the drop down, like, there's no way that she's gonna hit me with that. So you got to be careful not to cancel some of your skills too early, you know. So one thing about this, so normally I'd use my slow time here, but I'm not gonna bother. Let's go into Awakening. And here you can see all the downtime. You know, that whole time my Shadow Stab, my Moonlight Requiem was off cooldown, you know. And so that you got to be kind of mindful, especially with a build like this where you're focusing on cooldown. Keep in mind, okay, the thing about cooldown builds is anytime that skill is available off cooldown, you're basically losing damage over the damage build. That's how you got to compare it. You could say, well, if the skill is on, like, available and I'm not using it, then I'm losing damage. And the longer that goes on, the more damage I'm losing. Now, obviously that works for any time you don't use a skill when it's off cooldown, but it's especially important for cooldown builds because you kind of go into it knowing that you're weaker. You basically nerfed yourself. You could be a lot stronger if you built like a strength build. So it's even more important for cooldown builds than it is for just pure damage builds. So you have to compare yourself against those damage builds. Oh shit. Perfect timing, by the way. Just missed my one. Iframe through that, just don't care. I mean, dude, seriously, just iframe through this and then iframe through that. Oh shit, actually, yeah, the explosion actually doesn't, it goes through iframe. So gotta know that, gotta know these things. Man, the Moonlight Requiem is also super huge, man. Woo. And that right there was an example of me getting hit, and then if you use the romantic dash, it actually teleports behind the enemy that has a target on them. So you can be super far away from an enemy and still get the target off. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the gimmick properly this time. Very easy in a solo setting where you can actually not have to deal with other people's latency issues. And the cool thing is with the target detection, that's another skill that's an easy counterattack tool from like anywhere on the map. Like, dude, Bink, like, shit's cheap, yo. Target detection, you know, we can rag all we want about the shadow step, but I think target detection is the more brain dead skill of the two, if I'm being honest. Very simplified gameplay, guys. I'm not really thinking about my rotations right now. Mostly just focus around utilizing my talisman skill. You know, I'm kind of building my shadow step as well as my Moonlight Requiem, and I just want to focus on having those skills off cooldown as much as I can. Again, remember, it's not just the runes. You know, you want to build your runes around mainly your top skill. You could partially your second skill, like how I'm doing it with cooldown. But mainly it's because of the talismans themselves. The first and second slot, you need to be abusing the hell out of them. Because that's what your Crossroads set does. You know, that's kind of how it does most of its damage. So, should have changed that differently. It's fine. I don't know if you guys think this is an interesting character or not just by seeing it. I just think he's unique. I think it's fun by sheer virtue of it just being different than my other characters on my account. You know, it's not something that, you know, like I said in my fun tier list, I don't find him to be all that, you know, engaging. I think he's pretty average level of fun. But when it comes to this type of stuff, oh, it didn't work or anything. I tried to iframe. When it comes to unique characters, I think it is worthwhile talking about, like, oh shit, just completely iframed. Am I gonna be able to game and not die here? That's the question. Well, I already did die once. I hate how in challenge mode, this is just like a free, like, kill the boss thing. I think if I get hit by any of those things that are way down here. Oh no, it doesn't. I think you still have to be within range to get the romantic dash. I'm trying to get it here, so. Yeah, I guess it doesn't count as a boss or a boss in this mode, but yeah, I was gonna showcase you can just teleport behind the boss at any location as long as you romantic dash into the attack, but I guess it doesn't work for that one. But I think it does kind of depend on which attacks I'm trying to showcase this teleport behind you gimmick, but I think it does depend on which attack. So yeah, like if it's an attack that's like physical that comes from the boss, like that one right there, it will automatically teleport to the boss. But if it's like this attack, oh god, these bats come. Nah, this one just teleports behind the bats. But if you want to, like, this attack right here is not gonna teleport me. No. Look at that though, dude. That shit was crazy. Moonlight Requiem can be used to just teleport to a boss instantly. That right there. So basically it's like a physical attack you can get behind a boss, and if it's like a projectile attack, then you can't really use it like that. But you definitely can still just jump to them using things like perfect move to push that back. Jump to them using Moonlight Requiem, using the shadow step right there. Oh my god, it just shadow stepped into nothing. Yeah, like this projectile is not gonna teleport me to the boss. I think it's really good to showcase on, like, look at this Moonlight Requiem, by the way. Dude, it's so good. The talisman is so good, man. And he's coming to me, it doesn't matter because I'm just gonna put my thing in. I think that the spider, I think it's good to showcase on the spider, but I don't know. I think it's just fun doing that kind of stuff, guys. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but okay. Never had that. Okay. Don't do it. Don't do it, dude. Okay. Yeah, just push him back. Just push him. You know what? It doesn't matter. And dash through this, and just. Okay, there was no target to shadow step, so gotta be careful about that still. Oh shit! You know what? We're good. We're good. We're good. Don't fuck yourself. You know what? I'm fine. Look at that. Right there. Spider's a good character to practice your going behind strats until you actually don't go behind. You really, I don't recommend doing it against projectile attacks, but the physical attacks, like this one, don't do it on this one. You're gonna end up somewhere you don't want to be. So. I guess I'll just go back to the boss and offer. But like his jumping attack, you definitely can do it against the jumping attack. So. The range, it's infinite range, dude. Is it like really all the way across the map? The Moonlight Requiem? Like, what is that? Seriously, I think it's fucking room wide. Let me see. Dude. I didn't realize it was that far, but it is something you can use as a free initiation, a free cast to use your Shadow Step, dude. There's another example. See, that time he tried to teleport to the end, to behind the boss. Even that one wasn't really iframe, but it's used to teleport quickly. So, oh shit, am I dead? Anyway, guys, I am having too much fun with this character. I know he's getting nerfed. I know they're nerfing the skill. I know they're nerfing the build. But I still think it's worthwhile to play with these fun builds while you can, I guess, you know. And even if not, you know, in 110 cap, if they nerf it, if they change the meta, I think the identity of this character is fun enough to try out and build. And I don't regret building this build. So, but hopefully I was able to showcase a little bit. I was trying to showcase, you know, everything this guy can do. But guys, it's endless what this guy can do. He's really unique. I wanted to showcase at least a little bit of, you know, what you can do in harder content. This is, you know, the next raid. What is this item? What even is that? Oh, it sells for $1 mil. Nice. Yeah, I wanted to showcase what you can do with a unique character in the game. You know, there's nobody else in the game that I'm going to be able to showcase that level of just iframe. Okay, so I wanted to showcase, you know, what the appeal is. You know, it really is something I would only recommend if you really like fighting bosses and you like brute forcing and fucking around with the gimmicks that you can iframe just for fun, just for the hell of it. That's what this character's about. Overall, his gameplay very simplistic. Just keep spamming the same skills and, you know, abusing, you know, the aftercast delay of all your other skills. And with a cooldown build like this, you just have infinite skills to your at your disposal to use for iframe. Still died 100 times, but you know, it's kind of the game that you play when you're not trying to be safe at all and just being aggressive. But anyway, guys, that's all I had to say about Secret Agent. So, Knights, begone.